What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping in with a bunch of Destiny 2 news to talk about. Of course, we're towards the end of the first week in Season of Dawn, so we're going to round up some exotic bugs, broken quests, but also some upcoming exotics and quests, what appears to be a secret tower obelisk, and this will enable us to do some pretty interesting things, including farming for god-rolled perfect paradoxes, so I'll explain what's going on with that, but we'll also talk about a return to Twilight Gap in search of a lost weapon, upcoming Corridors of Time previews, event exotics, and a bunch of news coming from Bungie in the first week of the season. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, a rating below really helps me out, but without further delay, let's get into it. Initially, before we talk any more about new stuff, it would appear that the Symmetry Exotic Scout Rifle is experiencing a few issues for some players on consoles, especially on PS4, and Cosmo said he'll make sure they log a bug on the weapon and investigate. I believe it's something to do with the rate of fire of the weapon, or a kind of firing animation bug. It isn't affecting everybody, so if it's affecting you, it's something they are looking into. But a bug which is affecting a weapon in general would be one for the Wishender. So currently, I believe it's the Broadhead perk on the weapon, but it's allowing it to do around about 3 or 4 times the damage that it should be doing. And DMG confirmed that the team is aware of the issue, and it will more than likely be fixed in a future patch. But actually, a lot of folks on the forums were talking about how much better the weapon feels with that damage bug right now. So not sure how nasty it is inside of PvP, but also in PvE it could be one to go and try out before Bungie fix it. Also at the moment, if you're completing this sundial, there's a kind of infusion bug where basically if you finish a run, claim the weapon, but then stay in the weapon menu and open your character menu, if you inspect a weapon in the same slot as the reward you got that you want to infuse, you'll actually see that there are 2 of the sundial weapons you just had dropped. One of them will show perks, and another one will appear that simply has a power level but isn't showing any perks on it. And if you use that one for infusion, you'll actually be able to keep the original. So maybe something that could be useful to help you bump up a few specific drops as you play through the sundial, but do be aware that this is something Bungie are looking to fix soon. A couple of final bugs and issues. There is a problem affecting the Sleeper Simulant quest, and also an issue where resonance stems from Mars aren't combining properly, and so Bungie are saying if you are doing any of that stuff, it's better to hold off until they can get it fixed, but they are also investigating an issue where the Escalation Protocol chest isn't dropping armor for any folks who already acquired it in Year 1. And so at the moment, essentially, it's pretty difficult to get the 2.0 versions of that gear, and is yet another thing that Bungie are looking into. Now though, let's move on and talk about some upcoming quests, secrets, and of course it's worth giving a brief spoiler alert right here. We'll look a little bit at some of the quest and story content. However, some of this stuff has actually been shown off via Bungie's recent press kit. So one of the new images we see is of Saint 14, and we were speculating as to whether he has his exotic grey pigeon ship with him. And indeed, from this image, it appears that that is the case, so Saint 14 will be located with his ship in the hangar. And funnily enough, if you go to the hangar right now, there's even a bug where the perfect paradox is, well, it's floating in his vendor location, so that's pretty interesting. Also, there have been a lot of conversation as to whether Saint 14 is supposed to be Russian or Greek. And according to the Russian website Konobu, Madbuck on Reddit pointed out that Saint 14 is indeed technically Russian. So a little bit of trivia for you right there. And we can see some Saint 14 action from some of the upcoming missions in the press kit right here. And of course we have seen similar things in the trailers, so it's not entirely out of the bounds of what Bungie have teased us about. Of course we saw Corridors of Time Part 1. That's the result of the quest on the first week of Season of Dawn, which by the way, if you haven't completed that, I would say is totally worth doing to be ready for the content next week. And we are going to be getting a Corridors of Time Part 2, which looks to take us to the dark past of Mercury, so that'll be pretty interesting. And we also see from the press kit Saint 14 arriving onto present Mercury in what probably will be a cutscene or something. So actually in terms of story, and if you enjoyed the Corridors of Time stuff that we've had, we are definitely going to get a little bit more of that, and it looks to be pretty neat. Here though, let's talk about the 5th and final obelisk for Season of Dawn. So we've got a bunch on different locations, but in addition to this, at some point in our progression, and presumably after Saint 14's return, we are going to get access to a tower obelisk. There'll be a quest to actually install this in the tower by the looks of things, but in terms of what it's going to enable us to do, it does mean we'll be able to link to any of the sundials while we're in the tower, and it even suggests that eventually we'll be able to potentially link all 4 of the sundials at the same time. But on top of this, Perfect Paradox is a drop we got as part of the quest, and players were wondering, when are we going to get random rolls of this, because they are visible in the database. And by looking at that obelisk, we can see the Perfect Paradox weapon frame is right there. On top of this, it's actually going to offer the 2 weapons inside of the Season Pass for Season 9, so the Trophy Hunter Sniper Rifle and the Pyroclastic Flow will very much be farmable via bounties that we're going to have at the obelisk in the tower, and it also appears to have the ability to generate polarized fractaline on a weekly basis somehow. And it does appear that upgrading the various obelisks on different locations will actually feature into this. there is something right here called the Empyrean Donation, where we can donate Fractaline to aid in the Empyrean restoration effort. And that's pretty interesting because it actually refers to a piece of roadmapped content, and so we can see the Empyrean Foundation, which is going to be dropping on the 4th of February. We don't really know entirely what it is, but once again, maybe kind of like the Tribute Hall or a faction progression system of some kind. We will actually be able to upgrade this Empyrean Foundation. It's not something I know an awful lot about lore-wise either, but Sarcastic Cat did post to Reddit that if you look at Hallowfire Heart and Phoenix Cradle, it appears that their lore actually references the Sunbreakers and their leader, the Imperial Magistrate. So on top of the fact that Sunbreakers are referenced in several times as having a forge on Mercury. And so there's some speculation that at least in lore terms, the Empyrean Foundation could actually be linked to the old faction of the Sunbreakers. Now that was a little bit of a story sideline right there, but also in the Secret Tower Obelisk, we'll be able to pick up a couple of different consumables. So we've got Time Lost Friends, and this increases progression of Time Lost weapon bounties by 10% for 4 hours. And then we also have Fractaline Skimmer, which drastically increases the chance to earn polarized Fractaline from playlist activities, and this is active until triggered. So those will be pretty useful for the general endgame in Season of Dawn, but there is also the Light Fused Fractaline, structures fused with light as a byproduct of the ongoing Empyrean restoration effort, and you can use this to increase the resonance rank of any obelisk by 1 full level during Season 9. So in itself, the Empyrean Foundation appears that it will kind of work as a catalyst to unlocking some of the content quickly towards the end of the season. That's definitely interesting, and let me know your thoughts about it down below. Now though, for some of the upcoming quest stuff in the game, of course we are going to be going and hunting the Devil's Ruin. We spoke about a couple of these different quest steps a few days ago, but Spectre15 on Reddit did put together a list of the kind of orders for these quests. So initially we have a lost relic. You've pulled a new time lost frame out of the shattered timelines within the sundial. Bring the frame to Saint 14 in the tower hangar. That's a potentially interesting tip for the day that quest launches, because of course, it looks like we're going to have to run the sundial in order to get some kind of item dropped. And Saint 14 confirms that the item we've picked up is a piece of Twilight Gap history, and he thinks we can repair it with materials recovered on the site of the Great Battle itself. So we'll need to venture to Twilight Gap in the EDZ and reclaim lost weapon frames that Saint 14 described. And I guess we'll have to pick up a bunch of different items there. And currently we don't know exactly what the final step will be, but it's pretty interesting from a lore perspective, of course, that we're going to be heading back to Twilight Gap. And there is a mission for this called Parts Long Lost. It reads, recover the lost Redrick's frame parts for Saint 14. Safe to say some of the lore stuff going on here is really cool. But then of course we have Bastion, and the first step for the quest is a false refraction. After speaking to Saint 14, we need to hunt down fallen captains and servitors anywhere in the Tangled Shore to collect intel to help decipher their comms chatter and find out what they know about this anomaly. From there it appears that the spider is going to be guiding us through a series of different steps as we attempt to pry intel from the fallen, and it looks like we're going to need to fight a fallen turned Scorn chieftain in order to get the coordinates of this missing weapon. So those two quests in themselves do sound really cool, but one of the interesting things this season is that there is a new classified exotic listed as a heavy weapon introduced in Season 9, so it has the potential to be kind of a hidden quest or something in the future, but that absolutely isn't guaranteed at this point. So let us know your thoughts about the kind of story with Saint 14, some of the lore references. I think the story side of Season of Dawn is definitely one of its strongest points at the moment, so I'm always curious to hear your thoughts. Couple of random things right here, but Bungie did preview a bunch of the items we'll be picking up in the Dawning this year, so these are primarily Eververse items. It's interesting that there is already a Crimson Days Ghost Shell in the database as well. Certainly a very lively looking one right there. But on the subject of Eververse in general, currently, you may have noticed that the Eververse icon is continually flashing, and DMG said this is a known issue, and the team is investigating for a future hotfix, so Eververse isn't supposed to be flashing all the time, and hopefully they'll get that sorted soon. A couple of random Xur updates right here. Of course, yesterday I posted the Xur video, and he now has the updated exotic engram that can drop Year 3 stuff, which is cool. Definitely don't miss out on that one. Also, the search term where is Xur ranked number 6 in the most searched where is searches on Google. So of all the locations of things on planet Earth that people search on Google, Xur is actually number 6, that's pretty remarkable. But on the subject of the future of Xur, of course I think generally we can agree that the fact he has the new engram is definitely a big positive, but otherwise DMG clarified that the team is working on an issue where Xur currently can't sell random roles. And for this season, it isn't something that's likely to be addressed, so maybe next season, although he does say that there are things that are higher priority than that Xur update, frankly, so let us know your thoughts on that, and if you got lucky with any nice drops from that new exotic engram. But of course, earlier on this week, Bungie disabled Dynamo after a couple of different exploits were found with that. On top of this, Bungie are tracking performance issues on console. There are still a few different problems in the UI and on the character screen, and then on top of this they're tracking the problem where PC graphics settings are not saving, and it's just being wiped every time you start the game, so they've got a couple of different things to look at there as well. In case you missed it from Bungie's recent update, there is now a page where you can reclaim any items from last season's Season Pass if you didn't actually pick them up in time. I'll link the Bungie blog with info about that down below. Also, this was the way you could acquire a free exotic engram potentially if you hit rank 98 in the Season Pass last time around. And also, if that didn't work for you the other day, maybe if you were trying it on desktop, it might be worth trying it on mobile, and the fact that a few days have passed, you never know, might mean you'll have more luck, because unfortunately I couldn't claim it early on, and then I was able to later on for some reason. So just something to bear in mind on the subject of that free exotic if you hit rank 98 in the last season. On top of this, Bungie have updated the known issues page if you are experiencing any other problems that we haven't spoken about in this video. The details for that are in Bungie's weekly update, which is linked in the description. But for today, guys, that's everything we've got to talk about in this video. So if you have enjoyed this one, a rating below is very much appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to get subscribed if you want to keep up to date with everything related to the game. Otherwise, thank you for watching as always, guys, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.